Hi guys, in this video we are going to be discussing about how to create designs from imagination. Before you start creating your design, you have to have a notebook or a piece of paper that is enough for you to be able to sketch with a pen. It's very essential before you start creating your designs. In my previous video, I discussed about how to generate ideas from different sources. I discussed that you can be able to generate ideas from YouTube videos. You can also be able to generate ideas by searching online and browsing it out from Google. You can also generate ideas from various sources. I will place the link in my description in case you're interested in watching the video. So there are various sources that you can be able to generate ideas. But for this very video, it's going to be based on imagination. You can also get ideas from existing building that is already existing if you are able to get to enter the building and sketch was already present in the design. Or another way is before you be able to get such designs, you have to meet with the owner of the house, and if it's possible for you to sketch out the design, most times they will not allow you to enter, but you can be able to still get the idea of the design from outside. That's the exterior view. Then with the sizes of the windows and the spaces that is present before any of the windows, can be able to sketch out a design from there. So that will be in another video. I will explain that very aspect of generating ideas from that. But for this particular one, we are working with imagination. Before you start working with your paper and pen, the first thing you have to do when it has to imagine, for the imagination aspect, you have to picture yourself in your mind that you are in a given space and you are moving from one space to another, and how is related to each other. Like, you have a picture of the interior of the building, likewise the exterior in your mind, but you have to start with the interior. We are done imagining the interior of the building before you start imagining the exterior. You start with the interior, so you imagine yourself like as if you are in that very space. You'll be having pictures, let me just call it pictures of, like, just form of a, yeah, like you are inside the building and you are moving from one space to another. How you are moving from it, like, just have a picture of the design in your mind, like you are inside and you're moving from one place to one of the space to another. So with that, you have an idea of the design from your imagination. That very step is very important. Let me say, for example, and I am inside a room, and in my mind, in my imagination, I'm inside the room. Then I'm able to I decide to move. I moved from the room to, let's say, lobby. Then from the lobby I moved to another room. So as I'm picturing it in my mind, I'll most times it's better for you to, if you cannot be able to have an imagination of every aspect of the interior, you can as you can imagine an aspect of it, then sketch it down, then move to the next. But actually, it's always better for you to have an imagination of the interior, of all the interiors, how it's connected, then before you start sketching it out. So it all depends on your ability, but most times I always prefer to have an imagination of the whole of the interior before I start sketching art. In that way, I'll not kind of cut some part off or start thinking of how to connect the other parts, because I already have an overall view of the interior of the design I'm trying to create. Then when I'm sketching, I can be able to sketch it with, like, sketch the whole of the design, the whole of the interior. It makes it easier for me. So that's how I do it. Because if I decide to, let me say for example, I imagined let's say a living room, then I imagined dining space, where, depending on what I've imagined and how it's connected. So after imagining it, then I decided to stop and start to sketch. So I would actually not have an idea of how everything is connected, but when I have already had an imagination of everything, of the whole interior, then while I'm sketching, it makes it easier for me. I can be able to sketch easily. So that's where imagination is very important. For imagination, creativity comes in. You can imagine a design from the beginning, the interior from the beginning to the end. Then when you are done with imagination, but when you are done imagining it for the first time, then you can give yourself some time, then go back to it in your imagination and imagine the whole of the interior again. Like you can imagine it for 2 times or 3 times, so it all depends on you. Maybe sometimes during your imagination you can make some changes. It's possible. So that when you are now finally convinced about the design, sometimes you might not be 100% convinced about the design. Then you have an idea of how the interior is, just like having a 4D view of a building with your mind. That's the imagination aspect of it, or of it. So when you are done with that, then before you can continue, start doing your sketch with your paper and pencil. So the reason why for me, why I prefer to use pencils, because if there is anything that mistake that you have made doing based on your imagination, that's, you're trying to sketch down something and probably make a mistake, you can easily erase it off, then continue. So you start sketching out what you imagined in your mind. Imagination is still there while you are creating the sketch, so it makes it easier for you to come out with a concept instead of just copying what other people are doing to. And imagining design is a very good way of creating your design. When you are to draw out your imagined design, you should not over stress yourself. It should be one line at a time. Take your time to sketch it out. Then when you are done sketching out what you imagined, then from there, from what you've already sketched out from your imagined design, then you can go ahead and give it some time, then come back to the sketch design. Then look at the design, the sketch design with your paper and pencil. Look at it very well and observe if there is anything that any changes that you want to make for the design. You have to check it and see if there's anything that is not functioning properly, or probably you want to make some changes of some spaces or whatever. So that's the time you're able to make the changes. Even if you can decide to leave the magic design, that's a copy, then in another paper you can resketch the imagined design again, then from there start making your changes on it. You don't just have to start making use of your eraser to start erasing for this very aspect. You can sketch on top of it, or where you don't want, you can just stroke it lightly. You might still need it later, so that you still have a picture of, just like you're trying to bring in, make some changes on the existing magic design. So I think that's the best way to do it. You can, even if when you're done with that aspect and you are still not convinced, you can still give yourself some time, and other ideas on how to develop the magic design and make it better comes in. Then you can just write it down as a sentence, or you can sketch on top, or just erase some part and rearrange it again. You can make use of another paper, you can still use that same paper. For me, what I usually prefer is, for example, I've already done with my Imagine design. The next thing I do is to give myself some time, we sketch it again, then we sketch it again with my paper and pencil, and start working on it. Then I already have my Imagine design separately. Then I'm trying to develop this very Imagine design that we drew on another paper, and make changes on it and see how it looks, if it's functional, or if there's anything that I want to change, or I want to make some adjustments about the design. I can start to do it on that very paper. If there's anything that I want to indicate, like add to the design, I can just write it down as a sentence. Or maybe I want to make some changes, I can write it down as a sentence, so that when I'm about to continue with my and get my final sketch design, I can introduce those written sentence and impute the design into my already adjusted Imagine design. When you are done getting your final sketch design idea, the next step is to start drawing it on your system. I do make use of AutoCAD for my architectural drawing. Then also I do indicate I do go ahead to draw the 3D view of the design. So it all depends on what you want to, how you want to make your design more better. You can make use of Lumion and other software. There are a lot of software. So what I do is to just go back to open my system, then go to AutoCAD, then try to create a design, create the based on the design already, the sketch that I've already done, based on my imagination and the corrections and the sentence and all that. Then final conclusion on the sketch, I'll start to draw it on my system, AutoCAD system. So sometimes during the process of drawing it on my laptop, sometimes ideas might also pop into my head, or you can still get more ideas on how to make the design better. So you can still continue to, while you're creating design, you can make such changes while you are working on your AutoCAD. Because sometimes when you are done with your sketch and you indicated your dimensions and all, sometimes the behavior of the land might be different, and it might require you to sometimes kind of reduce the measurement that is already existing, you understand. So, or sometimes the based on the nature of the land and all that, may even make you to make some little adjustments on the design. Or anyways, if there's any changes that need to be made, that any idea that comes into your head, you can impute it and make the design better. It doesn't mean that because you've already done a pencil sketch that you cannot make changes to your design. No, even when you are drawing with your system and you are done with the sketch on your AutoCAD or whatever software, and you see that there's something that is not okay with the design, you can also change it. Or maybe an idea comes into your brain and you need to still change the design, you can always change it, as long as you have not done placing the windows or the doors. You can just imagine it, look at it and see how to make it better before you start imputing your windows, your doors and all that. Because when you are done imputing your windows and your doors in your design and you are trying to make changes, it becomes, most time it becomes more stressful. So I always prefer to create it as a building block. Then I already know how the windows and the doors will be positioned. Then I'll see how I can make it better and conclude on it before I start bringing in my windows and my doors or whatever that I need to indicate. Do subscribe for more content. If you have any question to ask, comment down below. See you in another video. Bye.